Erased Destiny 2, The Knower. Chapter 9, Surprise. Stayed in the ballroom. She waited for the moment when her presence, her spells, or whatever else would be needed by Etien. In the meantime, she familiarized herself with the steps of dances. She genuinely enjoyed admiring the graceful movements of the whirling women. She only had the opportunity to learn a few dances in Sintra, so she used this chance to catch up. All couples started rembas in the same position, with the male partner standing behind the female one. After the first notes, the couples moved forward, and then immediately back to their previous position. Each swing of the pendulum became faster and faster as the music picked up the pace, and the beat of the drums began the second part full of stomping. Etien remembered a duel with Narcissus, somewhere in a nameless village, in a barn full of people who were not averse to drinks. When Cyril put his hands on her waist, Etien slipped her foot between his. She had defeated Narcissus, the self-proclaimed master of everything related to music, so she was not afraid of confronting Cyril. All she had to do was remember the steps and not lose the rhythm. Cyril started differently than Etien remembered. He took 2 steps back, pulling his capricious partner with him. Before Etien could think of an adequate response, she had to do a turn and then a box. Cyril's strong arms guided her body so confidently that there was no room for improvisation. Whenever Etien tried to change the position of her feet or speed up, Cyril would spin her around. He himself stomped out all the beats as required by rembas.
You won this round.
Her laughing, flushed face contrasted with the black of her gaze and the decorations on her dress. Cyril admitted to himself that he hadn't had so much fun in a long time. Dancing with Etien reminded him of his youth, fighting for the prettiest girls, competing for the title of best dancing couple, not the stuffy Cintrian parties that Joanna took him to.
We'll play horror as the third dance. Ladies, show us what you can do.
Horror. Cyril had never heard of such a thing. Sensing her partner's anxiety, Etien placed her hand on his forehead. A desert dance that she had been introduced to during her wedding to Saskiel. Not by Saskiel, by any means.
Oh, that. I've seen it at a few weddings. I don't have much to do.
Etien nodded. In horror, the role of the man was reduced to displaying his partner and creating a beautiful setting for her.
I'm good at waving to my subjects. And you know how to live on your knees.
Kneeling on one knee and guiding Etien, who was striking a solemn pose. Cyril wondered about what he had just heard. Did he really look like Joanna's servant from the outside? The kind who would do anything his wife demanded for peace of mind? As long as his outfit was predominantly black, Joanna did not interfere with what he wore. But if he decided to change his wardrobe, how would his wife react? If he wanted to eat something different, live in a different place, go away on business? Joanna did not limit his freedom as long as he did not go beyond the boundaries that had been set many years ago. Boundaries that gave him enough leeway that he did not notice them on a daily basis. He smiled to himself, to Etien, who ruled over everything and everyone. Any form of concession to the other side, any attempt to find a compromise, must have looked like subordination. As they changed their position, when the partners circled each other, Cyril whispered,
You're wrong.
After the parade in front of the judges and a few graceful bows, the couples stood in the middle of the room. This time, many more people were sent to the wall, almost 3/4 of the participants.
The last dance of today's competition will be, how could it be otherwise, a story. Listen carefully to the melody played by the orchestra, and I will give you the theme in a moment.
Story? What kind of dance is that?
You can choose any dance and set of steps. The couple who best presents the theme, as long as they match the music, will win. I'll show you.
As she watched her partner's memories, Etien couldn't help but notice the contrast between the young Cyril and the mature one. As a teenager or young man, Cyril did not shy away from fun, stimulants, and company. He worked a lot, maybe even too much, spending whole days on the road. But he always tried to have a good time, singing by the fire, hunting, fishing, playing cards. After the marriage and the death of his 2 children, he withdrew into himself. Etien could not say that she did not understand the changes that Cyril had undergone. She herself broke down after losing the opportunity to return to life, after being condemned to eternal wandering among the dead. After the death of her first husband, she considered committing suicide. Etien tried to wait out the resentment of her loved ones in her own office, weighed down by a pile of documents to be signed.
Today you will tell us the story of the love of 2 people. A chance romance that should not have happened. We start in 10 minutes.
Could you take control over the other dancers?
I could, but it would spoil the fun. We're going to present the story of my first marriage, To the Steps of Lily. Take a look.
Isn't it too fast for this melody? They're mourning.
Etien shook her head. It was enough to do 2 steps in 1 bar. A romance that should not have happened. That was how her relationship with Fidelis could be described. The killer's love for the victim. The seeker's leader's love for the woman he was tracking. A love that lost out to his sense of duty and loyalty to the Lord.
Arguments during the day, passion at night. I will try not to ruin your concept. You have to watch out for other couples, someone will surely try to trip us up.
In the palace, I was called a mistress of improvisation. Mainly because nothing went according to my predictions on the battlefield. I will manage.
Etien showed Cyril the plan for their performance, a dance that was mostly performed separately. It was as if the lovers could only spend the nights together.
Let's begin.
All couples began with a bow, a hug, a squeeze. All except Etien and Cyril, who stood motionless, their eyes fixed on the floor. Etien was the first to move. She approached her partner, past him without a word, without a single glance. He raised his hand as if to stop her, but at the last moment, he changed his mind. He went in the opposite direction. The scene, filled with emotions, contrasted with the calm, idyllic music. While the couple smiled at each other, exchanged flirtatious glances, and turned around to maintain eye contact, Etien danced solo. Each of her steps and jumps, each turn, swing, or stop brought her closer to Cyril. Slowly, in circles, as if she didn't know the right way, as if she couldn't find her way in the new situation. Cyril waited. He didn't make it easy for his beloved. He hid behind another couple, then suddenly appeared right next to Etien to encourage her to chase him with a fleeting touch. Lily were famous for their impressive lifts, and it was with a lift that Etien and Cyril began the second, much hotter part of the dance. When Etien was suspended with her face right above her partner's face, she realized that she could actually like Cyril. Much more handsome than his last son, with a clearly defined jawline and short black stubble. He was tempting her to kiss. Etien got closer. He pulled her in. He played with her emotions. The offended girl wanted to escape, but he did not let go of her hand. The dance began to resemble a lover's quarrel, which the weak and sensitive Etien had no chance of winning. She flirted, pretended to be unapproachable and not at all interested, while waiting for her partner to make a decisive final move. In this anticipation, she was also accompanied by the judges, completely ignoring the couple's dancing according to the patterns. Suddenly, Etien stopped in mid-step. She looked at the couple next to her. A woman stepped on her skirt by her heel. Although the woman must have been aware of the situation, she danced in such a way that her foot did not lift off the ground. Etien yanked at her dress, tearing it at the knee. She abandoned the sad remains, running to meet her beloved. Finally, he agreed to spend the night with her. Nothing else mattered, not the dress, not the smeared makeup, not the burning hand. She threw herself into Cyril's arms.
What a performance! What emotions! I have never seen such a passionate romance. And what did the judges decide?
You are amazing.
I told you we would win. I love dancing. I haven't missed a single ball since I was a child.
Cyril smiled and hugged his excited partner. With just one performance, she not only accomplished her mission, but also won the residence, which made everyone jealous. The dancers reluctantly left the arena of the recently ended competition, and Etien and Cyril, accompanied by guards, were led to one of the castle towers. The interiors they passed did not differ from those of teardam houses. Stone and carpets reigned supreme everywhere. The decorations in the form of jugs, armor, and paintings were abandoned in favor of the ubiquitous stained glass and bas-relief. And the roof let in as much sunlight as the windows in Velinard's castle. The guests were not allowed into the mayor's office. They were pushed in. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind them, and the only person in the room did not even bother to look up. The first thing Etien noticed were barrier symbols carved into the wood-paneled walls. In the semi-darkness of the room, she was unable to read the symbols, but for sure, they blocked most of her magic.
Congratulations, a beautiful dance, the title deed to the residence. Here you go, goodbye.
The host said his part, not deigning to give the guests a single glance.
We were promised a meeting with the mayor. Is he coming to see us?
I am the mayor of Tydam. We have already met. Now, please leave, I am very busy.
I'm sure you are. Managing such a large city must take up a lot of your time. But do you really not have time for a conversation?
Cyril leaned his back against the door to prevent any possible intrusion by the guards. He kept his eyes on the chair he intended to use in case of an attempt to break into the room by uninvited guests.
I'm sorry, but no. If you want to talk to me, come to the audience. Audience hours are.
A quiet laugh, right next to his ear, made the man jump out of his chair. Busy pretending to be busy, he did not notice Etien circling him. Before he could shout for the guards, Etien touched his forehead.
Silence. I've always wondered why this particular spell is resistant to barriers. So that priestesses can overpower mages? That makes sense.
She took off her shoes and broke the window with them. She leaned her head out and let out a long whistle. Cyril ran up to the mayor, grabbed him, and the three of them followed the shoes before the guards broke down the door that had been blocked with a chair. The men landed on Artos's back.
Death's cocoon. They set up a 20-year-old lout and hoped that anyone would fall for it?
In the heat of the moment, you forgot the title deed. Here you go.
Cyril handed the scroll to Etien, who was flying on her own wings.
Keep it. I'm not going to live in Tyrdom, and you deserve compensation for your time anyway. Is a house with a pool enough, or should I add a sack of gold?
Do you know how much a residence like that is worth?
Etien smiled mockingly. Compared to the wealth Affy showered on her, no object had any material value.
Less than 2 pairs of my shoes.
They only found Topaz in the apartment, to whom Etien handed over the prisoner with the order not to let anyone approach him. She asked Cyril to pick up the kids from the party and bring them home safely. Then she contacted the vampires.
How are you?
The mayor has been thrown into the dungeon, allegedly for corruption. However, we haven't found him in the dungeon. We are searching the castle's underground. There are a lot of fire mages around, as well as missing palace priestesses, so we are moving slower than I would like to.
But we have interrogated several captives. We will report back after we return.
All right. Don't take any risks. I will rest for a while and join you.
Etien found her dirty shoes. She didn't have time to clean them, so she only wiped them with a wet cloth. She had eaten dinner because Merigold had clearly been craving a meal.
Maybe I'll go with you. The captive isn't going anywhere, and Cyril is enough to guard the bound one.
As tempting as the prospect was, Etien shook her head. She felt most comfortable in her own company, especially since she had lost the ability to save losers from a violent and not at all pleasant death. Vampires were a different story, putting themselves in danger for their own pleasure, receiving a generous reward for it, prepared for the mission in every aspect.